For the longest time, the big question in health has always been, how can we live longer? But what if I told you that's actually the wrong question? In this explainer, we're going to dig into a whole new way of thinking, where the focus shifts from just adding years to our life to adding real life to our years. Let's just kick things off with a number that should really make you pause. 12.4 years. Right now, in the United States, that's the average gap between a person's lifespan and their health span. Basically, the years they live in good health. Think about that. That's over a decade that's often spent battling chronic disease and just not being able to do the things we love. Okay, so let's get really clear on this. Lifespan? That's just the total number of candles on your final birthday cake. Easy enough. But health span? That's how many of those years you're actually feeling great, you're vibrant, you're able to be active. So the goal of modern longevity isn't just about making that first number bigger. It's about getting those two numbers to be as close to identical as possible. And that right there, that's what we call the longevity paradox. Medical science has done an absolutely incredible job of keeping us alive longer, but our quality of life, well, it just hasn't kept up. We're staring down a future where a lot of us could spend the last chunk of our lives, maybe a fifth of it, with some pretty significant health problems. And we have to change that. So how do we actually do that? Well, a great place to start is to look at the people who are already nailing this. We're talking about the longevity hotspots around the world, places where people don't just live for a very long time, but they stay strong and vital deep into old age. Let's see what secrets we can pull from them. Okay, so when you hear that, a lot of people's first thought is something like, well, that's nice for them. They just have great genes. It's all just luck of the draw, right? And that's a fair question. For a long, long time, we all kind of believed our DNA was our destiny. But is that really the whole story? Well, it turns out it's not even close. This is what's so amazing. This comes from the famous Danish twin study. And what it found is that only about 20% of how long you live is actually dictated by your genes. A massive 80%, I mean, look at that. It comes down to your lifestyle and your environment. This is just incredibly empowering. It means the steering wheel is mostly in your hands. Now, you've probably heard of the blue zones, these places where people seem to live forever. And it's true, some of the original data has been debated and critiqued by scientists. But here's the thing, the core lifestyle principles they found there, things like moving naturally, eating mostly plants, having strong community ties, those are almost universally endorsed by experts as a fantastic roadmap for good health. All right, so let's take that roadmap and get practical. We're going to dive into what I call the pillars of Healthspan. Think of this as your personal toolkit for building a stronger, more vital future for yourself. And you can start using these tools literally today. So I've got a question for you. If you had to pick just one simple, physical test to predict how long someone will stay healthy, what would you pick? Maybe blood pressure? Or cholesterol? I'm guessing the real answer is going to surprise you. It's your handshake. No, seriously, your grip strength is one of the most powerful, most researched biomarkers we have for your overall health and how long you're going to live well. It's basically a stand-in for your total body strength, your muscle quality, and your overall resilience. And look, the data here is it's really striking. One huge study found that for every 5-kilogram drop in your grip strength, your risk of dying from any cause goes up by 16%. In fact, it's a better predictor of early death than your blood pressure. This just hammers home the point that staying strong isn't about looking good, it is about survival. Okay, so we've got strength covered. Now let's talk about the engine. You're probably hearing the term Zone 2 cardio everywhere lately. It's really simple. It's just low and slow exercise. Think of a brisk walk where you could still chat with a friend. The magic here is what it does for your mitochondria, the little power plants in all your cells. It trains them to get amazing at burning fat for fuel, which is the absolute foundation of metabolic health. So the next logical question is, okay, how much of this do I actually need to do? Well, a leading voice in this space, Dr. Peter Adia, says that 180 minutes a week is a really solid target. Now that might sound like a lot, but break it down. That could just be a 25-minute brisk walk after dinner every night. Totally doable. But science doesn't stand still. A brand new review from this year points out that while Zone 2 is an incredible base, the sweet spot for most of us is actually combining it with some shorter, higher intensity workouts. So the real takeaway is balance. Build that big endurance foundation with Zone 2, but then sprinkle in some harder efforts to really get the maximum benefit. All right, let's talk about what might be the single most underrated, performance-enhancing, life-extending thing you can do.
Sleep. This is not just downtime. When you're sleeping, your body is a busy workshop. Your brain actually turns on this cleanup crew called the glymphatic system that literally washes away toxins linked to diseases like Alzheimer's. At the exact same time, your body is repairing damaged DNA. It's just incredible.
And the good news is you don't need to do anything crazy to improve your sleep. Here are 5 simple, proven steps. First, consistency is king. Go to bed and wake up around the same time. Make your room a cave, cool and pitch black. This one's huge. Get off the screens at least an hour before bed. Easy wins that make a massive difference. Okay, I want you to really look at this because this is one of those facts that should just stop you in your tracks. We all know how terrible smoking is for us, right? Well, study after study has found that being chronically lonely is just as damaging to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. We are wired for connection. It's a biological need, not a nice to have. All right, so we've got the big pillars, but what does this actually look like in real life at different ages? Let's make this super personal and break down some simple strategies you can use depending on what decade you're in right now. If you're in your 30s, this is your foundation building decade. You're at your peak for building muscle and bone. Seriously, think of it like this. Every time you lift a weight, you're making a deposit in your structural retirement account. Nailing these habits now, sleep, exercise, connection, it's like pouring the concrete foundation that you're going to live on for the next 50 years. Now, when you hit your 40s, the game changes a little bit. It's all about preservation and being proactive. There's this thing called sarcopenia, which is just age-related muscle loss, and it can start to creep in here. That's why keeping up that strength training is so critical. You're actively fighting back. This is also the time to get serious about flexibility and balance, to get ahead of problems down the road. And then in your 50s and beyond, the focus gets laser sharp. It's all about function and resilience. Number 1 priority, don't fall. That makes strength and balance completely non-negotiable. To fight off that muscle loss we talked about, getting enough protein at every meal becomes essential. And you have to be intentional. You have to schedule time for friends and brain-stimulating activities to keep your mind as sharp as your body. Okay, we've gone through a lot of data, a lot of strategies. So what's the big idea here? What's the one thing you absolutely need to take away from all of this? What's the ultimate goal? It really comes down to this simple idea. The whole goal has shifted. It's not about the number. It's not about making it to 100. It's about arriving at whatever your last day is with the energy, the strength, the mental clarity, and the joy to be fully present for your life and for the people you love. That is the win. So I'm going to leave you with a question, and I want you to really think about it. Forget the 5-year plan for just a second. Based on everything we just talked about, what is the one small, simple change you can make today to put a deposit in the bank for your health span tomorrow?